I will now call to order the regular City Council meeting of July 22nd, 2024. Members of the public are invited to attend in-person meetings in council chambers. Public access is also available by telephone by using the call-in numbers posted on the meeting agenda, and tonight's meeting will be broadcast on the city's YouTube channel online. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Leidy,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Luke Manjero-Massa will be absent. Councilmember Burns,
Here.
Councilmember Jaramillo,
Here.
Councilmember Kondo,
Here.
Councilmember Roper,
Here.
Councilmember Goff,
Here.
Councilmember Nowicki,
Here.
Councilmember Walker.
Here.
Thank you.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Manager Guyer, are there any responses to resident inquiry?
I do have one item this evening, Mayor and Council. It is the latest update on the East 112th Ditch and Roadway project. As of last week, we notified residents that at this point in the project, the interim measures are completed and that we will reach out to residents with an update once we're prepared to share timing of the proposed permanent solutions, permanent protection measures, that are under review currently. We are still waiting to hear news on whether or not our applications for congressionally directed spending funds are moving forward, but as of now, we're in 3 different processes, 2 in the Senate and 1 process in the House. And then we'll continue vegetation management of the ditch once a month. So I know that information was shared with council last week in the weekly update. The last piece of this update is I want to extend a thanks to Mile High Flood District. Their staff was amazing, and they continue to be amazing in terms of working with North Glen in identification of the next steps to provide permanent protection measures. So just really want to give them a shout out and thank them for their partnership. And if any residents have any concerns or issues, feel free to reach out to myself or Pam Aker, Stormwater Coordinator. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any additions or deletions to tonight's agenda? We're moving on to public invited to be heard. This is an opportunity for public comment on any item not set for public hearing. Statements are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Statements must be related to city business and limited to matters of community interest. City Clerk Small, is there anyone signed up to speak to council?
Yes, Madam Mayor, there is one individual, and that is Tom Lampo.
All right, welcome. Please state your name and address and provide your comments to council.
Hello to everyone. I'm Tom Lampo, 3951 Jackson Way. Again, we are living in unprecedented and horrific times. The attempted assassination was just that. I've mentioned all aspects of our lives will be shaken. That event shook our lives. We are in an era of change. I believe there's more to come. I'm here to lift up North Glen in prayer. Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, in Jesus' precious name, we invite you here to North Glen. You're the God of the universe. You're the God of North Glen. Life continues to happen, and not all of it is good. Nothing is done without you first knowing about it. Isaiah 14:27 states, "The Lord of hosts himself has planned it. Therefore, who can stand in its way? It is his hand that is outstretched, so who can turn it back? No one can go against your will. You created everyone, and you desire a relationship with everyone. Send your spirit and touch the people of North Glen." Lord, we lift up those that were affected by the attempted assassination, especially friends and family that live in Pennsylvania. We as a society can do better. Change the anger to love, bring a renewal of our faith in you, and restore safety. We lift up the families of those that lost their lives. The families are left to make sense out of a very confusing situation. Bring strength and peace to them. Surround them with love. Finally, we lift up those that were injured, bring complete healing to their bodies. There are many situations we don't understand. We know our ways are not your ways. Give us wisdom and knowledge to understand the days we are in. James 1:5 states, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given him." Bring peace and understanding of the times to each of us. We only see a small portion of any particular event. We don't have the ability to see the entire picture. Our knowledge is finite, and yours is infinite. We need your Spirit to come into our lives. Our enemies are desperate, and in their desperation, they will continue to try to bring destruction upon us. They will continue to divide us any way they believe they can in an attempt to influence us to bring malice upon each other. Our enemy is good at dividing us. In Psalm 59:1, it states, "Deliver me from mine enemies, O God. Defend me from them that rise up against me. Prevent us from succumbing to our enemies' desires. Remove the anger we harbor and bring us peace. Our enemies are well versed in division. You are the healer of all. Victory is yours. Help us see it. In your precious name we pray. Amen." Thank you, guys, and have a nice night.
Thank you, Tom. Is there anyone on the phone who would like to speak to council? You may press star 6 to unmute at this time. Is there anyone in the audience who did not have a chance to sign up but would like to speak to council? Okay. Hearing none, we will move on. We have a few presentations tonight. The very first one is our July Neighborhood Beautification Awards. I would like to invite council to join us. Along with our Community Outreach Coordinator, Jenna Gregg, we will present the Neighborhood Beautification Awards to residents for the month of July.
Don't know that I understand it.
I don't either.
Hello, Mayor Leidy, council members, and everyone else joining us this evening. As the mayor said, my name is Jenna Gregg. I am the Community Outreach Coordinator for the city, and I oversee the Neighborhood Beautification Program. For those of you who don't know, this program was established in 1998 to recognize residents who have done an outstanding job of making their homes and yards beautiful. So the city is then divided into 8 separate areas, and then nominations are received from residents and neighbors throughout our community. We then have 8 volunteer judges that make their way throughout each street to determine that month's winners. So the winners are chosen by the judges during the summer, June, July, and August. So this is round 2 of 3 this summer. And each winner receives a large lawn sign that is displayed in their lawn each month. And our council will then recognize the winners here at our summer meetings. And the winners receive a framed certificate and a keepsake garden sign. So North Glen residents can receive the award in 2 categories. We have our Yard of the Month winners and our Waterwise Yard of the Month. Yards of the Month are awarded to traditional lawns, typically weed-free, well-kept, healthy trees and flowers. And then Waterwise is awarded in accordance with North Glen's conservation efforts. Less turf, more water-tolerant plants, flowers, trees, shrubs, etc., other landscaping materials. So, without further ado, it is my pleasure to recognize many of you in the audience today for Yard of the Month and Waterwise Yard of the Month. So, if you have joined us and I say your name, please come on up to greet council and get your certificate, and then we'll take a photo with you. So, first of the night, we have Yard of the Month for the Hollinger family, who I don't believe was able to join us this evening. Let's give them a round of applause anyways. All right, next we have Zach and Kayla Archer at 11694 Claude Court, another winner of Yard of the Month. Did you join? Congratulations.
right, everybody smile. Keep smiling. Don't blink. Got it, thank you.
And this is for you. Thanks so much. All right, next we have another winner of Yard of the Month at 11274 Corona Drive. We have Brian and Gloria Larson. I don't believe they were able to join us tonight, but let's recognize their efforts. All right, next, another Yard of the Month winner. We have Ron and Deb Grassi at 241 East 105th Avenue. Again, I don't think they were able to join us, but let's celebrate them. Next up, Yard of the Month, we have Joan and Gail Johnson at 1252 Beth Lane. Joan and Gail, are you here? Come on.
Front and center, there you go. All right. He's looking good. Smile. All right, one of these should work, thank you.
Thank you both so much, and this is for your yard sign. So you can keep that and stick it in the yard sign. Put in your lawn if you want to keep it out. All right, next up, another Yard of the Month at 10441 Livingston Drive. We have Coco and Joe Foley. Come on up. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Here, I'll shake your hand. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Smile pretty, Joe. All right, there we go. Sorry, I'm getting it right. Okay, unofficial, just kidding. Jody, can you sit in a little bit? There you go. Smile, look like you're enjoying it and not doing yard work. All right, thanks. Thank you.
I did all the work. Great job.
And here's this for you.
Oh, thank you so much.
So thank you. Maybe, there we go. All right, and so our first Waterwise Yard of the Month is for Pat Hutcherson at 11804 Humboldt Drive. I don't think Pat could join us this evening. Our next Waterwise Yard of the Month goes to Beverly Rupa at 101 East 109th Place. Beverly, are you here this evening? Congratulations. Yeah. Come see the mayor.
All right. Smile. Say flowers. All right, good job. Thanks.
All right, our next Waterwise Yard of the Month, that is I'm not going to say AstroTurf, fake grass. There's new names for it these days. But Linda and Elizabeth Melhorn at 10768 Brewer Drive.
All right, start high, go low. Everybody smile, don't blink. Say cheese. All right, thanks.
All right. Our next Waterwise Yard of the Month goes to Melissa Solis at 10535 Carmela Lane. I don't believe Melissa could join us this evening, but let's recognize her efforts. Then our last Waterwise Yard of the Month for July goes to Edward Eberly and Butch and Debbie Scheck at 10300 Fox Court. Thanks so much. Looks great.
Okay. This one, that works perfect. All right, everybody smile. Say summertime. All right, thanks.
No, I work at the plant. Anymore. I mean, I do.
And for your yard sign. All right, that concludes the Yard of the Month program for July. We'll see you all again in August. You want to go to next?
Okay, our next presentation, I'd like to invite our youth commissioners to come forward. We have our Youth Commission quarterly update. Good evening, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. What do you have to tell us?
Well, first of all, good evening, Council. My name is Suyash Rashta. I am a Youth Commissioner on the North Glen Youth Commission. Tonight, I just want to present a little bit on what have we been doing in the past quarter. And so specifically, we've been doing some early age recruiting. So we have a couple of members interested that are under the age of 13. And so they've been listening on meetings. And so we've been really just fostering that community connection, making sure that we have that pathway for membership for those younger populations within our community. We're also continuing more with community engagement. Just recently, we attended the Pride event within the city of North Glen, and we were really proud of that. And then moving along, we're also working towards our priority projects. And so for this year, we have two main priority projects, one focusing on substance abuse and another one focusing on food insecurities. We've recently submitted a report to North Glen City staff regarding substance abuse in order to start creating these trainings on important substances such as naloxone in order to really inform our youth on these vital resources within the community. And we've also continued working along within the food insecurity domain in order to coordinate a Can Castle food drive later this September in order to really make sure that we're kind of combating this community impact and issue in a really meaningful way. We've been really reaching out to different community partners such as Food for Hope in order to really understand these issues and also make sure that these events that we're planning are a big success. That's all I have. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Any questions or comments? Councilmember Burns?
I'll just say hi.
Hello.
The Youth Commission is doing a lot. We are on a little bit of a summer hiatus, but I think we're going to kick off in the fall, and it's going to be great. And they do so much good work. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
I hope you're enjoying your summer.
Thank you.
Councilmember Goff?
I want to say thank you and all of your members for helping out at Pride. And we just had some interviews for the youth position for the DICE board. And both people, we asked if they'd knew about the Youth Commission, and they were not aware of it. So we did send them to the website to look that up. But I'm not sure, why we're not getting the word out to as many people as we'd like. Good luck on your recruitment.
Thank you. Yeah, sounds good.
Councilmember Condo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Question, do you have, or are you familiar with Boys State or Girls State?
Yeah, I have heard of the programs before. I've heard of Boys State, yeah.
Do you all have a relationship with our American Legion Post 22 here in the city?
As of right now, we do not.
Okay. All right, this is just a brainstorm. Usually, Boys State, Girls State happens in the spring. And it's a selection process that the American Legion goes through, which I want to say starts usually around January, February time. And then candidates get to go to Boys State or Girls State, which is in Greeley. And it's an opportunity to learn about civics, and you compete to run, become senator and all this. And then you eventually, if you are nominated, you get to go to DC. And so I'm thinking this is an opportunity here, perhaps maybe for a partnership. And if you want to explore that further, I'm more than happy to offer the opportunity to connect with the post commander. His name is Gabriel. So let me know.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds like a great opportunity. We can definitely look into seeing all of the members being interested within the Youth Commission, and we can definitely establish that relationship in the long term.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. I have to say, as you were speaking, I was immensely impressed at your whole presentation. I mean,
Thank you.
You don't have a ton of notes in front of you, but you were extremely articulate and very thorough, and I just really appreciated it. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
All right, have a good night.
Okay, that said, our next presenting group has a high bar. I'd like to welcome our Community Co-Production Policing Advisory Board for them to share the annual report. So CCPP Board Chair Richard Volk, hello. Do you want to bring anybody with you or introduce your guests?
Hello, yes, I would like to introduce my guests. I have Don Valero and Camille Lynn with me in the back, as well as Natasha Adler over here as well. We'll have a slide here in a moment that will show you where they are on the board, ward-wise and at-large-wise. Next time, I'm not following him.
Rough.
Just so we're clear for next time. That was fantastic, good job. We're actually very much looking for a youth at-large member.
Oh, that's right.
So we're still open as well. So kind of gave away this first slide here. Myself as the chair, Don is the vice chair, and Camille Lynn is our treasurer. And our purpose here today is to give our annual report. I don't know that this has been done before council, so if you could bear with me a moment, I want to take you through a little bit of the history of the board. I won't read you the whole slide, but we were founded in 2020, and shortly thereafter it was put on pause about 2 years later. We then reconvened in May of '23, and since then, one of the parts of our bylaws is that we have to go through the police department Citizens Academy. Now, we go through a mini abbreviated version of it because many of us have already done it, but we had to go through that, and we just finished that up last month. So here's our ward membership. Natasha's from Ward 1. Beth, who could not be here tonight, she's from Ward 2. Camille is Ward 3. Myself, I am Ward 4. Pat Marquez is our at-large member. Don is an at-large member. He's our vice chair. There's that youth at-large position that we're looking to fill. Ihsan Riahi, he is a community service member. He is with the mosque. We have an open spot for the community service, for a community service provider. We have Sergeant Joel Brown, who's been with us since we reconvened on the 23rd of May. And then we have a new officer that we're going to get to later tonight that's on the agenda. So he'll be joining us with public safety as well. And then Councilwoman Burns is here with us tonight. She is our ex officio member. I did want to take a moment and say thank you to Mayor Leidy for when we got started being our ex officio for that moment, because that was truly a founding moment for us. So thank you. So purpose of the CCPP, I know in your packet you have the large language and big words of what was put into the city council code. What we've done is we kind of distilled this down into 3 action points in our camp. We wanted to build a connection between the community, the police. We wanted to increase transparency And then we want to empower citizens, have another avenue of communication between public safety needs and the police department, as well as the council if needed. So this part of the ordinance, all of that's to create and enhance public trust, safety. So as the chair, it's my joy to put up these wonderful things that we've accomplished in the time that we've been doing this. But I have to take a minute, and I want to point to the back room again where my members are, because without them, it doesn't happen. So I would like to invite them to stand up and be recognized. Stand up, Camille. I'm sorry. Natasha, stand up, please. Please be recognized. Thank you. And Don, thank you. What we've been able to do is review the purpose and the role, kind of fine-tuned it to what we needed to do. With the break that we had, one of the things that we had to do was let people know that we were back in business. We were doing good works. We adopted some ground rules for how we were going to communicate. For those of you not familiar, a lot of the stuff that comes across from public safety, I guess the council, I don't mean to imply, is not familiar. However, with anyone in the audience that's not familiar, a lot of this stuff with public safety can be very politicized and very polarizing. So we had to create some ground rules to make sure that we were finding common ground at all times. Those are available if anybody would like to see those. But it's basically a 1 through 5 of can I agree with this? Can I absolutely not agree with this? We amended our bylaws. There was some stuff and language in there that didn't quite make sense for the new board that we had. We also had to adopt a new quorum because of our membership. Dragging into the membership, the original quorum required strict numbers, and we had to change that to more of a percentage type of base. Now, we still need a larger than majority, and I think you all are very familiar with that and voted on that, I think, last month, I want to say. This is the mini academy. This was, while review for some of us, very eye-opening. The crisis response unit was admirable. I cannot speak enough. I don't have the words for what they've done and how they've changed policing in our city and the things that they do in responding to high volume, high stress situations in such a way that it truly takes pressure off of the officers in the police department, but also off of the people that need the help the most. De-escalation CIT, that dovetailed right into the crew piece of it. The rest of these things, very interesting, very poignant. I would recommend anyone that's interested to try the Citizens Academy. They go into these things in depth and they are great. I'm not going to read you the whole slide because that's one of my pet peeves, so I'm just going to move on. So part of being back in business was community outreach. We had to reach out and let people know that we were involved. So we started that with the State of the City in 2023. And we also did I'm going to forget the name of it, but the Halloween event as well. We have plans to be part of both of those things as well. And you can also find us at most of the concerts and movies where we started doing popcorn that we're handing out with surveys on that. And the response from that has been way better than we had from any of the other interactions that we were trying to do and trying to elicit verbal comments. I think it speaks to the modern age. Everybody is more willing to put their opinion into the cell phone. We did gift cards with Christmas Crusade. We did the National Night Out. That was a lot of fun. We're going to be a part of that again this year. And we did Pride. Pride probably was one of our largest events. It was also the first event that we did the QR codes for surveys. We weren't even doing the popcorn at Pride. But it was attached to another kind of giveaway, a kerchief. And we had our largest turnout from that of respondents. We hosted some meet and greet drop-in hours over at the rec center. These were not as popular or as well attended as some of these other events. However, it's something we would like to investigate further and how to make it more accessible going forward. So we have some lovely pictures there this was the Pride handout on the far left there. And now we got to the popcorn that was just the other night at Ward 4. So these are our goals looking ahead. We're going to continue to let people know that we're here and that we're available. So we're going to have quarterly meet and greet drop-ins sessions. We're still working on a better location for those where they're a little more accessible to the public. Providing emergency cards and magnets. This was something that came to us with the influx of migration and folks that didn't necessarily speak English or come from countries where the police were on your side. So we very much wanted to get a card out to them that would at least identify the language that they speak, very similar to what the police are doing, or not the police, I'm sorry, the hospitals are doing, so that when the police or first responders show up, they can at least get a translate or know how to translate from what's happening and understand what's going on. We're gathering feedback from the community through our being present, having conversations, lots of interactions, but also again, I can't stress enough, the surveys have turned out to be the way to go for a lot of this stuff, for us. And with that, we want to strengthen the bridge between law enforcement and the community. We want to make sure there's an open conduit, open conversation, and critical conversations. So everybody's favorite slide, the questions. I do want to stop one moment before we get to questions, and I wanted to take a moment and thank city staff. None of this could have been possible without their assistance and their help, and so I wanted to say thank you to everyone on staff. We very much rely on you, and thank you. So with that, I'll go ahead and say questions,
All right,
comments.
we've got a few. Councilmember Goff.
Yes.
Thank you. This is wonderful. I was looking forward to this. Thank you very much. Very thorough. My question is, if you could just maybe generally say, like, what the survey was about, like what kind of questions, what you were trying to get back from people?
Yeah, so the nice part, the fun part of the survey is we're able to adjust it per the event and direct it towards individual communities or keep it more wide open. The main goal with this survey is to poll the public about where they see public safety. Do they feel safe? Do they feel comfortable calling the police? Is there things that we could do better? And then there tends to be a fill in the blank segment that can get us all sorts of random things, but also some very good things as well.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear, the DICE board has a survey system, but we haven't updated ours for a while, and that's something we need to do, so I was glad to hear about it.
Great, great.
Councilmember Kondo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On your last slide there, you talked about these cards, magnets for residents. So when you talk about first responders, are you talking about police or also fire and paramedics?
So the idea is to have something in the household. I'm going to go ahead and hold this up for everyone to see. This is a pretty common thing. Growing up when I did, things that were important were stuck to the fridge. Here's another one that we're kind of imitating. We're still in development on this, but the idea would be that whether it was EMS, police, or fire that responded, the occupants could present this, and it could help them understand, is there an allergy? Is there a food issue? Is there a religious issue? These kind of things that are very important, but can't always be communicated through a language gap.
The reason why, well, first, thank you for that answer. The reason why I asked this is I'm aware, as the liaison to North Metro Fire Rescue, is that our paramedics are actually developing kind of a similar sort of thing. Actually, it's a backpack of stuff for families with children that are maybe sensory overload sort of issues. And so that's kind of like a to-go bag to kind of help keep those children distracted. So I'm just kind of making that mental connection that what you're trying to do is kind of similar in a certain way, except instead of for children, it's more for non-native English speakers.
Sure.
So then my epiphany, I usually have epiphanies when I come to these meetings for some reason or another. I don't know why. But my epiphany is there an opportunity for partnership with North Metro?
Absolutely.
So if that is something that you're interested in, I'm more than happy to help you get connected to the right people.
Yes, we're very interested in partnering and working synergistically. I was going to mess up that word, I knew it.
Synergistically.
Thank you. With the entire city. That's kind of why we've integrated ourselves with the state of the city when we did that in 2023. We're integrating ourselves into the Halloween piece of it. We're not always needed, but we want to be available.
Okay, gotcha. Well, you know where to reach me.
I'll find you.
I have a big target on me.
Councilmember Jaramillo.
Thank you, Mayor. Great presentation, great work. I'm glad CCPP is back. I wanted to extend an invitation since you want to have community outreach. We're starting to do the neighborhood nights in parks across North Glen. And Ward 2, we're going to have ours. It's going to be August 1st at Malley Park. So it's Malley Drive and Marion Street in Ward 2. And yeah, I think that'd be a great way to engage the community, possibly fill some vacancies that you have, and just continue the, building the awareness of what CCPP is doing.
Great. We'll be there.
Awesome. See you there.
Councilmember Nowicki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Volk, for the presentation. Again, my council member partner said it's good to see that you guys are back and kind of doing the work. With regard to kind of the survey, how many kind of respondents have you gotten so far?
So the count has been, it's going to be kind of dismal when I give you the actual count, but know that it's been about 5% of what we're getting, of what we're putting out there as far as surveys. And we're giving out popcorn is most of these surveys that are going out, and so they're going to children. So there's your disclaimer. So we had actually 10 respondents from the Pride event. We didn't have great accurate records of how many of those that we put out, but I want to say there's about 200 kerchiefs that we were able to give out. So that doesn't take into account people that took photos or walked by or found it on the ground. That's kind of the wild part of the survey piece. Past that, we've been getting about 5 to 6 from the neighborhood nights or the concerts in the park. We tend to leave them up for about 2 weeks just to see. The Pride one we left open longer, but we only saw action within those first 2 weeks.
Okay, and is it just gonna be kind of open indefinitely and just kind of rolling feedback, or is there kind of a cutoff and then we're gonna analyze?
So we've been, like I said, we were kind of we were piloting this, right? So we're kind of feeling out how we're gonna do that. For the most part, we have an open general survey, and then for these events, we're kind of leaving them open for about 2 weeks. Based on the stats that we saw lots of respondents right away, a few respondents a few days later, and then crickets from there on out, which means no response, just to be clear.
Yeah, we'll make sure we plug it in the free popcorn aspect as well.
Sure, absolutely.
With regard, does the survey tie back to the goals in any way? Because again, I appreciate your goals. I think they're great goals. But I would also want to see, I'm curious how that's kind of measured. Increasing community trust, kind of where the baseline is and kind of what that would look like.
Yeah, and this has been actually one of our challenges, truthfully, is finding what's the baseline, what is the level of comfort? And I would challenge that we're currently establishing that baseline.
Okay.
Where do we sit now? And then where will we go from here? Where did we go? So where this plays in is, one, we're increasing trust. We are here. We're here all the time. We're available all the time. Public safety, the whole survey is really geared towards that. Do you feel safe as a member of the public? And then diversity and equity, the best way we can do that is try and be everywhere and try and be available.
Okay. So still kind of just working out what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, we've truly been active for about a solid year now. 6 months of that, we spent a lot of that in training. And so we've kind of been doing these pieces and finding our way to get respondents. You know, the first events, we didn't have a survey necessarily, so the takeaways from that were hand notes, and very few people actually wanted to approach and discuss these things, especially in a public forum.
Well, keep up the great work.
Thank you.
I think the emergency card, the magnet, that's great. That's really helpful, folks. Yeah, thank you for being here, and I look forward to future presentations.
Great, thank you.
Councilmember Roper?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was gonna save this for my update, but since you're up, and I shared with my council mates how delicious the popcorn was, so thank you for that. Thank you to your team. Just, I think, of course, the popcorn was a draw, but having your faces available, having your team available to just talk, I heard over and over from our residents how appreciative they were of that. So thank you, and I appreciate you being a part of our neighborhood night. So thank you.
Thank you, that's lovely feedback. And one more shameless plug, the popcorn bags are gonna be pink for the Barbie movie.
Very intentional. Councilmember Condo? No?
Stole my thunder. I was gonna remind him that we're having our, Ward 3 is having our,
See,
You
we're
already
just trying
know,
to
so.
jump on.
For what it's
Forward to
worth, we've
seeing it.
established, looking at the summer calendar, and that's how I can say with confidence we'll be there, because we've established folks to man all of these neighborhood nights.
Great. Thank you.
I had a quick question. I was wondering, sort of in line with Councilmember Nowicki, if it would be appropriate at the next update for us to see the survey questions and the results that you have at that point?
That's definitely something we can look into. Part of our survey is that we wanted to keep it anonymous, so I'm not sure how that plays in necessarily.
I think just like
Yeah,
cumulative data.
I think that would be ideal. I think
Okay.
that would be the way to go with that.
Okay, that'd be great.
Great.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Sure, absolutely, thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. That's all we have.
That's it? All right.
Yeah,
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Where do you need me?
I'll get it.
Okay.
Thanks, Reggie.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done.
Yes.
Okay, moving into communications, I will start with Ward 1, Councilmember Burns.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We all just heard from my two boards and commissions, as I'm ex officio on. So they did great updates, and I'll leave it at that.
Great.
Thanks.
Councilmember Walker.
Thank you. No major updates. Just want to say thank you to Tom Lampo for his kind words. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Jaramillo.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say that Northland Arts Humanities Foundation, we have one more concert on Wednesday, so please come out, check it out at the festival lawn, just right over here in front of the new rec center. Come check it out, enjoy it, because I think it's the last one, so. Also, once again, wanted to do a plug for the neighborhood night for Ward 2. So that's Malley Park, that's Malley Drive and Marion Street. So there'll be a band playing from 6 to 8:30, and the name's Jerry and Joy. And I thought at first it said Jerry and Jay. I thought they were volunteering me and my dad Jerry. And I had to go up there. I'm like, hey, if you want me to sing, I can sing, but I can't play any instruments. But so that was funny to see that on there. So I'm looking forward to hearing that band. So there will also be food trucks. We'll have sandwich and Kona Ice. And if you talk to me or Councilmember Nowicki, we'll give you a $7 coupon to receive food from either one of those food trucks. So it'll be a good time. And also, how could I forget? The movie that we have playing is going to be the new Wonka movie. So bring your blankets, whatever you need to feel comfortable and during the movie. I'm very excited for it too. I have seen it already, but I think everybody else will enjoy it. With that said, just welcome to join us August 1st. This begins at 5:30, so that's in 10 days. So mark your calendars. Yeah. Thank you.
Councilmember Nowicki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, my counterpart there covered that pretty well. So, neighborhood nights, mark your calendar. It'll be great. The only other piece of information, the Northland Senior Organization met last Monday. They're kind of currently in the process of gathering information on how they can be more of a resource for seniors in Northglenn. So if anybody, public, any city staff, council, have any ideas as to kind of connections they could make, please reach out to me or someone from the North Glen Senior Organization as well. That is all.
Thank you. Councilmember Goff?
Oh, okay. Well, I just wanted to say, first of all, I want to apologize to people here on the dais and residents that I did not make some of the concerts and events because of the heat and the air quality. So my sympathy goes out to people who have, respiratory issues, and I hope that we can continue to work to improve our air quality. And leading into that, that's one of the reasons that North Glen is a member of the Colorado Communities for Climate Action. And I did go to a webinar on July 11th, so I could stay inside my house in the basement where it was cold. And the webinar was on environmental justice and emerging technologies. And it was sponsored by Earth Justice, Rocky Mountain Office, and Green Latinos. So CC4CA does work with a variety of groups to help improve our air quality and mitigate some of the bad effects of climate change that we're going through. And then July 9th, the DICE officers and myself met with a consultant, and we were planning a workshop for the entire DICE board coming up, date to be determined. July 17th, we did interview for the DICE board at-large youth positions, and we did select somebody who we will meet later this evening. Both candidates were excellent. It was a difficult choice, and I hope that the other person might consider joining the Youth Commission. That's what we encourage people to do. And then the DICE officers meeting was the next day, July 18th, and we were planning for our next meeting, which looks like it's going to be pretty full. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Councilmember Condo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'd like to just continue the theme that Dr. Goff started, and that is that DRCOG, Denver Regional Council of Governments, today released, and it's actually featured on CBS 4, Channel 4, 5 p.m., that they had received, along with Colorado at large, nearly $250 million in a grant from the EPA. It's called the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant Program. Of that, DRCOG will receive about $200 million over 5 years. And this funding will go towards cutting roughly 150 million metric tons of carbon dioxide by 2050. Has a workforce development component of about 5,000 workers and aims to significantly improve the air quality in the region. So this is a huge, huge win, not only for Denver, but also for Colorado. Again, I think it's nearly $250 million in grants. So that was quite noteworthy, and hopefully that'll help you breathe easier. A couple other things that I'd like to talk about. One, we have, you talk about the Battle of the Bands, I guess you'd call it Battle of the North Glen Knights. So Ward 3 is having our North Glen Knights on Wednesday, and I think we have the better movie. We have Barbie, as you might have heard. So please come out and join Dr. Goff and myself. I'm sure we're not the star attraction, but like Ward 2, we'll also have food trucks and vouchers there. And certainly, it's important for us to hear from you all. And of course, we'll sit around and watch Barbie with you. Two more items. I did have a working lunch and a working breakfast with our city attorney and mayor, and I really appreciate the time that you all give of yourselves from a very busy schedule. I think that perspective means a lot. And sometimes when you sit here and you're just kind of thinking about at your ward level, you're missing the bigger picture, or you're missing the rest of the story. And so to be able to kind of hear that context, I think really helps me think through a lot of issues and with my decision-making. So Madam Mayor and City Attorney Hoffman, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Lastly, I'd like to recognize the City of Westminster Fire Department. You hear me talk about North Metro, but really, I think that one of the things that we don't realize is that here in the north area, we have this system called CAD-to-CAD system. And the best way to think about it is it's like in basketball, you have the jump ball. It's the same sort of concept. It's the closest unit responds to wherever your incident or event is going down. And I just couldn't help but notice that our rec center, we've had a couple of emergency calls where Westminster paramedic fire responded. And so I just want to say in a public venue, thank you, Westminster, for being part of this team where we have this real tight coordination and response. I mean, it enables us to be able to get the patients, see patients faster and get them to the care that they need. That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Roper?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we had our Parks and Rec Board meeting, and in that meeting, we really were talking about the new playbook that's coming out. We really are valuing the community input, prioritizing projects, and a big thing, just really how can we reinvest in our established systems that we have. They're really looking at some things that are of importance to our community: quality of life, health and wellness, safety and maintenance of our parks and our existing systems. They're going to put it out on the website, and they're seeking community input. So if you have input on the new Parks and Rec playbook, please give that input. Also, we talked about the replacement of the top block fence, and the timeline for that to be completed is about 3 weeks. In the theme of everyone tonight, we had our neighborhood nights last Thursday. It was incredible. We had delicious food from Radical Sasquatch Dumpling and Polar Brothers Nitro Ice Cream. I had the cookie monster, delicious. We had music from the Biff Core Trio and popcorn from CCPP. We had the movie Super Mario, which was incredible as well. Over and over, I just heard from our community how important these events are, and specifically, someone said, thank you for the opportunity to get to know our neighbors and to allow us to build these connections. And everyone I spoke with, I said, what are your concerns, or even what are your celebrations? And one person shared with me a celebration of the bear sculpture had been tagged with graffiti, and that our staff came out so quickly to remediate that, and just how appreciative they were of that. And again, lastly, just our event staff for putting on this event, their support, their organization, just even their presence and their joy. It was really powerful for our community. So thank you. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Oh, in a competitive nature, I want to note that the first neighborhood nights was mine.
You had
No.
that, Sarah.
I did have Dot Zero. It was amazing. So I do want to thank staff, and we have an amazing community, and we put all of these on the calendar, and they really fill up the summer. And you can travel to all of them. You don't have to just stay in your ward. But we did have the mayor's event on the 11th of July, and it was really lovely. Dot Zero was there. We have a restaurant, Beltron's Meat Market. They also have a food truck now, and so they were there, which was delicious. And, you know, it was very hot, so everyone had to have a Kona Ice for sure. But it was just lovely, and there were so many additional booths, and staff was there. And it's very welcoming. Everyone's so happy to be there. And I don't know, it's one of my favorite things. So I'm glad that all of the additional ward meetings are going well, too. I think it's just fun. It's a fun way to celebrate summer. So, but to Councilmember Roper's point, the work of staff is next level. I mean, they stay well into the night to take everything down, and they're there very early in the day setting everything up. And it's all of that work behind the scenes that, you know, we just get to come and be like, woohoo, this is such a fun party. But they've done all that work behind the scenes, so I really, really appreciate that work. I had a couple of highlights. Mine are more forward-going, so I don't know if anyone else on council is joining me at the ADCOG, so the Adams County Council of Governments dinner on Wednesday. And for residents, that is a regional opportunity for Adams County elected officials to come together with our city managers and really talk about the issues that are concerning the entire region. So Aurora is hosting this week, and so I'm looking forward to that collaboration. Also, right around the corner, because we don't have a meeting next week, we will have our National Night Out on August 6th. I'm hoping, I was going to ask Chief May when I'm done speaking, if he could come and say something, but just I'll finish and then I'll come back to you. Because I had a specific question. I recorded my August Mayor's Monthly Minute with a highlight around back-to-school events, and that is also right around the corner. So this is also a huge thank you to our police department because they do a welcome event for school principals in North Glen, and they do safety and security training, updates. It's really, really important, but I think the biggest piece for me is they help our school leaders feel seen, feel supported, and feel encouraged as they kick off a new school year. So that's also coming next week. So thank you to our police department for hosting that event. And then I also want to let everyone know that Art on Parade is open and ready to go. All our sculptures are in the park. I've also walked around with my family and they have picked out their favorites. And that's just really fun. So when you go around, there's a QR code in front of each sculpture and you can vote for your favorite. So don't forget to do that. We will get those for a year, and then the favorite one we get to keep. So that's really exciting. So definitely enjoy the new pieces. They're new and interesting and definitely different than we've had in the past. So that's also a fun way to enjoy E.B. Rains Park. So, okay, back to Chief May, National Night Out. My question for you, and maybe you can just speak to it, is there a place on the website that communities can go to sign up, or what's the process this year?
They go to the website or go to Facebook. We have some postings there, or they can, I have a number right now, 303-450-8893. That gets you to our records department. Just ask that you're interested in hosting a National Night Out party. So I think we have 10 currently. We're hoping between 15 and 20. So we'll keep pushing that. So it's a great evening. Get to know your neighbors. It's super important. And then we also, if you let us know, then we could probably set up not only officers showing up there, but of course, council members. And then also, if we're really lucky, the fire department will be able to stop off at some of those houses as well. They love food, right? So they might critique the food because that's what they are, professional cooks. But, it's great to have them too, so. But yeah,
Thank you.
all right.
Thank you. Excited about that. I just wanted to highlight National Night Out because it's one of my favorite events of the summer. And so if you're interested in hosting, go to the website or Facebook or call that number and sign up. So that is my final statement. We'll go on to City Clerk Small. Do you have any update?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do have one quick update. This coming Saturday, July 27th, the City Clerk's office will be offering passport appointments for customers who are not able to come in during our business hours Monday through Friday. I looked earlier today and I believe we have a couple appointments left, and folks can register for those online on the website, www.northglen.org, and then a / and passports will get you there. I also want to mention that the Passport Saturday event is also the kickoff for the City Clerk's office's next community donation drive. So with this donation drive, we will be accepting food products to benefit Food for Hope, and then to also benefit the Little Neighborhood Pantry that is located on Livingston Drive. There are lists of items that are suggested for each drive on our website. For the Food for Hope boxes, they are providing boxes to culturally diverse residents. So we have a list of items that include things such as raisins, dates, tea, ground coffee, that are sometimes hard for them to source for those types of boxes. And then for the little pantry that's over on Livingston Drive, because it's a smaller space and it's also not climate controlled, there are a list of suggested items on the website too, that also provide some information about that little pantry. So for customers who bring in a food donation, they will receive a free passport photograph. And then for anybody in the community, if you ever have questions or need help with your passport services, I would just encourage you to contact the City Clerk's office, whether that is online, or give us a call, or just stop on into our office. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager Guyer?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I have several updates to share with you. The first is that We had a successful dumpster day. Recapping the July 13th event, we collected 83.4 tons of junk. And that consisted of 28 roll-offs, 6 hours of operating hours, and then 375 vehicles. So we actually had 113 fewer vehicles than last year, but still a good amount of junk to discard. So that was good news. Always a successful event. 2 other pieces, Parks and Rec related. The Ninja Cross project is going to be underway in August in the pool area. So we're tentatively planning a grand opening and ribbon cutting on September 7th. That's a Saturday. So mark your calendars, more details to come on that. The PBS Kids Fest was held at E.B. Rains Park this past weekend, and PBS rented the park space and had a wonderfully great turnout. They're hoping to make it a reoccurring event in future years. The last item that I have is to share that Amanda Peterson, our Director of Parks, Recreation, and Culture, and I met with Mark Fink, who's the Executive Director of Anythink Libraries, last Monday to touch base. He's been the Executive Director for a couple years now, and we haven't had the opportunity to connect. So I reached out to him, and it provided a really good opportunity for us to touch base on the history of the ask on behalf of North Glen for a library. As you'll hear me present later when I talk about strategic planning, they don't have the funding for a library. They're very focused on a couple other bigger projects that are underway right now in Thornton. However, he agreed that as much as we can do partnership-wise with programming is something that he'd like to see grow in the next year. So we'll stay connected with him and see what we can do to bring more programming to our rec center. And then certainly when our city hall is open and we make the community rooms accessible to the public. The other piece is, I believe, Amanda provided a tour for Mark of the Recreation Center, Senior Center, and Theater. So great conversation there, and that's all I have tonight. Thanks.
Thank you. City Attorney Hoffman.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. I do not have a report tonight.
Okay. All right, moving to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I will close that vote, and the consent agenda passes unanimously.
Okay, we have one resolution tonight, CR 132. Will the clerk please read the title?
A resolution appointing the Youth at-Large member to the Diversity, Inclusivity, and Social Equity Board of the City of North Glen, Colorado.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, I'd like to welcome Heather Webb to the podium. This is a DICE board applicant. Welcome. If you would like to introduce yourself and give us a brief introduction as to why this is something you would like to do.
Good evening. My name is Heather Webb, and I would like to identify myself as a second-generation Filipino American. I'm 17 years old, and I'm going to be a senior at North Glen High School this year. Being a resident in North Glen for the majority and entirety of my life, I would just like to express my gratitude for the opportunity to be more involved with my community, and also just use my own lived experiences to share with the youth and help grow a stronger and more diverse community for North Glen.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Councilmember Goff.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome. We enjoyed your interview thoroughly. I'd just like for you to briefly tell everybody some of the organizations that you've been involved in that you talked to us about.
Yeah, so in middle school, I first began with volunteering with a nonprofit that is based in Denver, Colorado, that is Asian Girls Ignite, and I work with Joanne Liu very closely. Additionally, I also work with another nonprofit organization called NAPIMA that represents the National Asian American Pacific Islander Mental Health Association, and they work very closely alongside the mental health for the AANHPI community, especially in Denver, Colorado, California, and the East Coast.
Okay, great. So you were very impressive.
Thank you.
I look forward to working with you.
Thank you. I look forward to working with you too.
Councilmember Kondo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for stepping forward. As an Asian ethnic background individual myself, I'm really happy to see that there is another Asian. And quite honestly, you know, I think that's the other thing that I am working on, actually, with several other Asian elected officials. I spoke about this with the mayor at the working breakfast, is how important it is to have more Asian folk involved with the community and in civics. And I hate to stereotype. Stereotyping is bad. But most often, I mean, most Asian people are pretty quiet. We keep to ourselves. We're not very talkative, extroverted, and this sort of thing. So, you know, it's outside of our comfort zone. So I'm really glad that you have already stepped beyond your comfort zone, and now you're starting to get more involved and exert some influence. So thank you for coming forward.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It's so lovely to see you in person. So I was fortunate to be on the Zoom interview, and I learned a lot about you, and I'm so excited for your work with the Dice Board. I think it's going to be a great fit. So thank you so much for serving in this way.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. I'm very excited as well.
Yeah, we have no more questions, so thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I will close that vote, and CR 132 passes unanimously.
Welcome. Okay, we have a couple discussion items tonight. The first one is the City Hall construction update for July. Our Director of Planning and Development, Brooke Svoboda, is here to provide an update.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We are on the home stretch. And before I begin, I just want to also put a plug in. Councilmember Kondo talked about the DRCOG grant. Mara Owen, our sustainability coordinator, was deep in the weeds as a community stakeholder in putting together that application, was very integral in putting the strength of that together. So very grateful for her effort in putting that and the success that we will receive from that. So we tentatively have estimated that Northglenn would potentially be eligible for up to $2 million in whatever programming that comes out of that. So we're really excited about that grant. In addition to that, the Governor's Energy Office also has, I believe, $130 or $140 million coming their way as well in addition. So very exciting on that front. To the City Hall, we are in the home stretch. I have here on the staff report, we are looking for the TCO this week into next week. Moving in for a CO the following week of August 5th. We'll be moving the furniture in the week of August 5th. We anticipate it's going to take several days. Our last scheduled meeting for council right now is September 9th. The Wednesday through Thursday of September 11th, 13th, we're going to move staff over into the new City Hall. We will have City Hall closed during that time. We're also, the inaugural City Council meeting will be September 16th. And then we'll have a VIP event on October 10th. And then on October 12th, we'll have a brunch with the mayor as well as a public open house on that. I also just want to mention that, you know, over a year ago when we were selecting contractors and architects and owners rep groups, you sort of sit down and you say, are these people going to step up when the time comes and we get to crunch time? And I can tell you that I've been more deeply involved in the project over the last month and a half, and every side of the team has really stepped up. And when there's a problem that comes up that we didn't anticipate, it's not a question of this, it's a question of this. How do we get it done and how do we move forward? And I'm very, very pleased and feel very good about where we are in our process, and it's great to see that this group has really worked well together as a team in getting us across the finish line. So fingers crossed, next week, hopefully we will have good news to report out to council that we have gotten through our TCO, and we will move forward with the next step. And with that, I'll open it up to any questions.
Councilmember Kondo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Director Svoboda. And appreciate all the work that Mara did to contribute to the DRCOG effort. As you know, there are people that watch the budget. And so I'm just kind of going back in time and just trying to recall how much we initially thought and budgeted for the city hall. I think it was 33.2 million, if that number still rings in my head. So now we're looking at about 33.8 if you round up. Is that a good kind of recollection of the history?
Yes, I think the one thing I will point out is that we still have contingency dollars that we have not spent yet. And so when we get to a reconciliation, that number's likely going to come back down when we get there.
Gotcha.
So
Again, I'm just asking.
Absolutely.
On behalf of residents who are very much
certainly,
budget hawks.
certainly. I can tell you right now that we are doing well on that front on the overall budget in terms of contingency. And so I think when we get to the final reconciliation of the total budget, you'll see that we're more or less in line with where we thought we would be.
And I could certainly vouch for, as some of you know, I come to swim practically every day. And so when I'm driving in on a Saturday and Sunday and I'm seeing work going on in the construction site, it's like, wow, that's really impressive. These folks are really wanting to stay in the timeline. So I'm not driving in and coming to swim just to see the construction, obviously. But I am impressed by FCI and the various subcontractors and their commitment to making sure we stay on time and pretty much on budget.
Yeah, and I will mention, just to piggyback on that, is that I was in conversations via email this weekend with AMD, the architect group, and FCI on trying to solve a problem from our elevator inspector that we have resolved and still moving forward. So I do want to just mention that, that's the type of effort that you wouldn't expect to see necessarily, but that's how this team is working, and it's really very reassuring that they are all on the same page trying to solve for X and getting it done.
Nice, bravo.
I don't see any other questions or comments. Thank you so much for the update.
Thank you.
Okay, our second discussion item is the draft 2025-2029 strategic plan recommended ideas for the 2025 proposed budget. City Manager Heather Geyer will present this item to council.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of council. Happy to be back this evening to present the strategic plan as it's under development. And so for this evening, the purpose is to share what ideas we're able to incorporate in our 2025 budget planning, which is in the initial stages, so nothing is set in stone. This exercise consisted of myself and directors reviewing the ideas that were generated on June 17th and really figuring out what was already in process that can be combined with the ideas by council members, and then what can we afford. And so you'll hear more about 2025 budget on August 5th. But generally speaking, I will share that it's going to be a bridge year is the phrase that Jason's using, tight. And so as I walk through the slides this evening and share what's included that we're going to be advancing, please keep that in the back of your mind, knowing that we will share additional detail with you on August 5th. So for the public's benefit, a strategic plan really creates that roadmap for the future, guiding the decision-making that you all make as policymakers and ensuring that our efforts are aligned with overarching goals and an overarching vision established by all of you, members of council, our policymakers. So one of the things that I want to point out before I dive into the ideas on attachment 2, that is an exported document from Padlet. The numbering scheme that you see on attachment 2 is not a set of prioritization. Those are simply numbers that I attributed to each idea in chronological order, starting at the top, going all the way through the end of the document. So I wanted to point that out based on a question Councilmember Kondo had elevated to me earlier. So thank you for sharing that question. I can touch on this more in a minute. The prioritization that City Council did do on June 17th consisted of prioritizing continued funding of the crisis response unit, as well as reinvesting in human capital. And so Idea 120, which was not technically in the Padlet, I added it as the last idea at the end of the document to capture that later discussion that took place on the evening of June 17th. So on that evening, this was the work that council set out to do, as the mayor facilitated that session. And so I'm not going to read those bullet points to you. You're all familiar with them. The key takeaway is that 120 ideas were generated. Staff was asked to put these ideas into 6 categories. Wordsmith the ideas, break them down into smaller pieces. That really consisted of combining like ideas or similar themes. And then for us to bring this information back to you as part of the 2025 budget process, which is why I'm here tonight providing this information. And then we'll present a draft plan to City Council in the future. I've already mentioned the August 5th date a couple of times, but this is a sneak peek at the work that's taking place behind the scenes. So I'm hard at work working with John, and we did contract out to have a designer help with the framework. So this piece is the draft title page, if you will, of the new plan document. Like I said, I'll bring the plan back on October 7th. The work following tonight is going to continue in terms of the lift of really continuing to sift through the ideas that aren't incorporated in the 2025 budget and continue to wordsmith those, continue to really flesh them out to make sure that we have full understanding of the idea as well as understanding of what is involved in implementing the idea and then that it's placed appropriately in a given out year, meaning 2026, 27, 2029. And then we do have the plan adopted for, we do have the plan scheduled for adoption on October 28th. Certainly that date can shift if necessary. The thing to know is that more discussion is to be had on October 7th about the plan as a whole. And the idea is knowing that council did a certain level of prioritization on June 17th, and I'm anticipating that there's more discussion that you'll want to have on October 7th once you see the draft plan. This is also a sneak peek at how we are putting together the strategic priority areas. Council did a great review of what were 8 strategic priority areas in the former plan, and you've consolidated a couple areas into 6 different strategic priority areas. And so I'm not going to read these to you, but we have this great visual that we're starting to work with as we're bringing the draft plan alive. And so I'll stop there to see if there's any initial questions. Keep going.
Councilmember Kondo.
Yes. First of all, well done. I know that there was a lot of work going on, and you're making it look like a duck swimming on water. So.
Thank you.
The one thing that I do really like here, what you've presented so far, is just, you know, an old mentor told me once, to really succeed in life, just focus on the essential few things. So I'm really happy that we went from 8 priority areas down to 6. Because as you talked about, you know, we need to, and I hate to use the football fundamentals, but, you know, get back to fundamentals, the basic blocking. And so that's kind of what I see here, and I'm very encouraged to see. And then I'll just put this out there now, you know, clearly you asked us to think big, and we did. I did. I came up with some pretty cockamamie and crazy ideas. So I just want you to know that, and I want staff to know, that I won't be insulted if you decide, no, that it's just not, it's a bridge too far. Or it's something that maybe is not within the capacity for the staff to consider in 5 years, maybe 10 years. I want to make sure that you all know that I'm not going to be insulted if you say, boy, Condo, he's just a little bit out there on the fringe, and, but if there are some insane ideas that need to be deferred, for me, it's all good.
And thank you for that feedback. So we are going to dive in to what we can include in the 2025 budget based on strategic priority area. You'll also see that in the upper right corner or lower right corner on future slides, we have a sneak peek of the icons that we'll be using. Feel free to give me feedback on icons, the draft design of the cover letter, the title page, excuse me, but you'll really get the full picture on October 7th. For public safety, there's several pieces that we can advance in 2025. The first, which I mentioned, is prioritized, which is continue funding the crisis response unit, and that funding that is needed is about $550,000. You'll notice with this second bullet point that anywhere we combine Padlet ideas, like ideas, group them together. The other one you'll see in a couple of slides is the playbook, multiple ideas that are all related. You'll see that we note that with the numbers. So we'll continue our efforts to support the regional work underway with the district attorney's vision for bringing a family justice center to Adams and Broomfield counties. There's no direct cost identified currently. That'll come in future years, and we'll capture that as we move forward in future budget cycles. But for now, moving into 2025, it's really about staff time, what we consider an indirect cost. Idea 66, and this is where you'll see Councilmember Kondo, I believe this was your idea. You may have phrased an idea a certain way, and then between myself and staff, we went in and wordsmith the idea and also made it appropriate to, with this particular example in mind, the police department had already submitted a package request to expand their current drone program. And so I think using your idea as an example, Councilmember Kondo, you had the idea phrased as, stand up a drone pilot program, something to that effect off the top of my head. So the amount included in a package request is the $10,075, and that was an existing package request. So we framed it as an expansion of the drone program based on the police department's recommendation. And then the fourth bullet there, maintain the traffic unit and continue proactive speed enforcement in residential areas near schools and high accident locations. This includes the addition of a fourth traffic officer. This isn't an increase in staffing requested by the police department. This is an allocation of an existing police officer position to the existing traffic unit. This particular idea had elevated specific concerns. I believe it was your idea, Councilmember Nowicki, about traffic enforcement on 3 different streets. So what I did was try to translate that into an existing program, but the desire to do more traffic enforcement, which is already on staff's radar. And so I've incorporated into that idea. So I'm pointing out a greater level of detail on both of these examples, so that way hopefully it helps you track with the wordsmithing and the shifting and combination of ideas that I've done. So feel free to ask me if something doesn't make sense. In terms of moving from public safety to high-performance government, there are 3 ideas that were elevated that really are within the theme of reinvesting in human capital. And so for 2025, the review we've done, we're focused on no additional funding needed. We're going to evaluate the general leave buyback program in 2025. And then the other pieces that were part of reinvesting in human capital is really having staff looking at the ideas and aligning staffing resources with those ideas. So you will see as I continue through the presentation that there are a couple big topics, i.e. events, special events, where conversations with council need to occur in order to really figure out what that alignment piece looks like. The second bullet point there is in regards to the Community Co-Production Policing Board. And the idea, I didn't really tweak this one very much, was reimagine and rebrand CCPP board or sunset it. And so this does not have a cost with it because from staff's perspective, this is really about bringing the conversation to council and council having the conversation and providing staff with direction on how you'd like to proceed. Continuing with high performance government, there were a couple of ideas regarding code enforcement and thoughts around what our current approach looks like. And so this is one of those examples where staff can bring forward a conversation with city council and get clarification and direction on what council would like to see. So we have some idea based on the way that the ideas were framed on the Padlet, such as consistent code enforcement, more code enforcement. And so that's an idea that doesn't in 2025 cost any money. Another idea that was on the Padlet, number 27, maintain roadway pavement condition index. That was wordsmithed a bit. We do have the budget appropriation plugged into the 2025 CIP for our annual roadway rehabilitation and maintenance. Another idea that was elevated is to develop a fiscal reserve for new facility and capital equipment lifecycle costs. So this is an idea that involves a conversation with council. Jason and I talked about him bringing this idea to the finance committee to weigh in on this idea, and then it can be a further council conversation in 2025 about any particular policy if desired, that could be developed and guidance to staff, different than how staff budgets for these types of items currently. This idea number 7, that's labeled 104, currently council does have $7,000 allocated for training and travel. And so staff did not believe that additional funding was needed, that this is an example of a program where council members have the ability to attend trainings that may be in-state, out-of-state, but certainly the training monies could be used for other things. Additional council direction would need to be given if this isn't meeting the intent of that idea. And then on to infrastructure. Idea 58 was to implement a futsal court. And on the night of June 17th, I did not realize that Parks and Recreation Advisory Board had already had a discussion about recommending a futsal court. So that's already in progress and underway, and the cost that'll be included in the 2025 budget is $150,000. And you can see there that Amanda included detail that this type of program is positioned well for potential grant dollars. This is the big one, Playbook. Playbook, I identified multiple ideas that are related themes, so I have not identified each idea specifically. There's a lot of work ahead with Playbook. You heard an update this evening that the Playbook is being posted to the city website. So many of the ideas that were elevated through the council process are potentially in the Playbook. Or need to be prioritized with all of the other park, recreation and culture recommendations. And so this is a big one, and this is where that work needs to continue from a planning perspective, and then we'll identify future costs. And so this is one strategic plan area that will carry over all of the length of the strategic plan year, so 2025 through 2029. And as we make way in terms of really refining the ideas and identifying costs, then we can plug specific projects into certain years. But it is general intentionally right now. I did include the funding of Merrow Delberry Park, and that involves a $3.5 million funding gap. And that's an example of a project where we do need to develop a funding strategy based on the outlook of the CIP moving forward. Idea 109 is continue planning for the development of a small event center at Stonehawker Historical property. So this project is underway. We did receive good feedback from council not too long ago about the scale of the project. And so I've incorporated that feedback from the Padlet as well as that council conversation. And so future costs for actual any type of construction renovation would be plugged into future budget years, but this work will continue into 2025. Number 70, evaluate NERA project areas. These costs are unknown. It really depends on what areas NERA and City Council may want to move forward with re-blighting. So I think this is also a continued conversation between Council and NERA. And so as costs are identified and whether, and if a re-blighting of an area triggers the House bill, then that appropriate work would be done and costs would be identified then. And that really ties back to Corey's economic development, Urban Renewal 101 presentation that he did last week. So if you missed that, I'd put a plug in to go back and watch that presentation. Idea 62, this is framed as continued investment in the marketplace through strong partnerships with Utensi Capital Partners, HCP. This is really indirect staff time, continual work with keeping up on how things are going based on last week's presentation by Brad Utensi in terms of leasing efforts, making sure work continues on their signage program, and then if they need assistance, that partnership is there. Excuse me. Idea 56 is the implementation of a redevelopment strategy for Washington Point Shopping Center and adjacent residential development. This study is underway and it's scheduled to be presented to NERA either in September or October. And at that point, Allison and I will schedule a touch point with council after that presentation to provide you with an update. So there are likely future costs associated with this work, NERA being the lead, I would envision, on what potential redevelopment at this site could look like. And so more to come on that. In terms of the next slide, there were several ideas related to the Civic Campus master plan. So the next step that's underway currently is council will hear more from Brooke Sabota, our Director of Planning, on August 12th about engaging with MIG. They're the consultant that did the update to the vision in 2022. So that work's going to kick off here on August 12th, and that work will continue well into the future. And so the specific ideas that were provided via the Padlet, that information will be provided to MIG. So, certainly, if you were the author of one of those ideas, you can certainly bring that up when Jay Rankin comes out and re-engages with council, or know that we will be providing that information to him. Transitioning to a diverse and engaged community. This is the special event conversation. There are multiple ideas about new events, potential new events, really doing a check-in to see if our current events are what residents desire. And so in conversation with Diana, we believe that we could do an event survey and really check in and gauge what residents believe, what's important to residents. There were specific ideas elevated through this process regarding a farmer's market, a holiday market, art festival, North Glen Days, as well as an Oktoberfest. And last week, I provided council with an update that we've been in communication with Prost about partnering with them for their 2024 Oktoberfest. I am waiting for a sponsorship request from Gretchen, their marketing director at Prost, and I should have that any day now, and then I'll bring that to a future council meeting to see if there's council support to help offset the costs of a 2024 Oktoberfest. Continuing with diverse and engaged community, the idea regarding highlighting diversity and increasing inclusivity in the city. Communication staff believes that we could produce 4 to 6 videos each year highlighting a staff member during respective months, and no additional funding would be needed for that. So that's something that can move forward based on existing budget. The next bullet, number 3, incorporates 3 different ideas under the frame of implementation of digital accessibility standards. And I wanted to stop and see if Joanna Small, our city clerk, wanted to touch on this because it involves a couple different components, or do you want me to just talk through it?
I'm happy to answer questions from council if they have questions.
So there's different software programs that need to be implemented, which consists of the $60,000, and those are existing package requests.
I have 2 questions. Maybe we'll go there. I don't think they're about that specifically, but Councilmember Goff?
Yeah, no, neither one of mine are really about that. The one question I wanted to go back on, when you were talking about that big item that was based on the North Glen playbook and had all those different things listed, is that going to be presented to us before we finalize the budget? It just says in the fall.
Not before we likely not before you finalize the 2025 budget. Many of those ideas will work through that process for future budget years. So the Futsal Court is an example of an idea that is included in the budget. There's so many, and there may be a few, Amanda, can you think, is there 1 or 2 others that you can think of off the top of your head that might be included?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. The one I would say that's already included in the 2024 budget is looking at lighting and video for this property as one example of kind of as city manager mentioned, we've got themes that are identified within Playbook. I'm pointing at a screen. It's not what's on the screen any longer, so I apologize. But on that list was improved lighting and safety. That was a high priority. So you're going to see that. Hopefully, the intent is that you would see that woven through all of the projects that we're bringing forward in 2025 and beyond. They may not be standalone projects like this lighting and video project is, but every time we do a playground, we should be looking at those themes that are in Playbook. So shade, lighting, safety, unique play features, et cetera. Does that help?
Yeah, it just sounds like that one, that big one is probably an example of next year being a bridge year.
Yes.
So, okay. And then my next question had to do with the diverse and engaged community, which is the one here. You talk about, and I like the idea of doing some videos that highlight certain staff members. But could we also include residents, either people who are on boards or, some move beyond staff? That's my only question.
Yes, we can, is a simple answer.
Great, okay, thank you. That's it.
Councilmember Kondo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can you go back one slide, slide 17?
This one?
So I just wanted to respond to this. And I'm making reference and paying homage to my digital native colleague, Councilmember Burns. I think the idea of having a people's choice and using modern technology to kind of democratize receiving the input is a great idea. So whoever thought about that idea, I don't know if that was you, Councilmember Burns, but I think this is a nice approach to helping us establish priorities.
That idea came from, I attended a session at the CCCMA conference, Magellan Strategies, they were at the CML conference. Texting surveys are much more popular today than they used to be. And so my frame of mind going into that session was for resident survey, employee survey, but it's a powerful tool, and so I think it's something within this frame that could be really useful, given the success that we've seen with our texting platform as well. That's been a really good introduction, and we're seeing great numbers in terms of subscribers, and so thanks for that feedback.
Nice.
Councilmember Jaramillo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for covering everything here, City Manager. Question I have, I have two questions. One is for the infrastructure, page 13, for the Futsal Court, or Futsal, I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, but, so you said that you zeroed in on a location, that's Larson Glen Park. And I was wondering if, okay, so it's, yeah, this is
Amanda
Director Peterson.
Speak to the specifics.
Okay. So, when you envision the court, is it next door to the basketball court? Is it where the basketball court is, or is it in the field?
So it's looking at all of those areas, and that's why the cost is higher than just the futsal court, because you're looking at what direction am I facing? That whole east end into a portion of the turf area. It's one of those spaces that, as we did our outreach for Playbook, those responses came back that there was a desire for more amenities in that space. Futsal came up, as did some opportunities for fitness, and just what do those unique elements look like that start to give each of our play spaces a more unique identity.
Yeah, they are very unique. I looked at some designs. They have a lot of public art, a lot of really cool colors, and I think that's something that, it could be a really great asset. I hope there's a big desire and demand for it because it looks pretty cool. I just want to make sure I'm just trying to envision, the layout.
Yes. So design is not complete, so we haven't gotten into that absolutely detail about exactly where on the site it'll be, but looking at that eastern end of the park.
Right, yeah, that's
And
my
still
beloved
maintain-
basketball court right there.
We won't take away the basketball court.
Okay, cool. It's a lot of great times there. I thought of this before, but since we're kind of on the subject, have we looked into resurfacing the basketball court at EB Rains Park? It's pretty slick. I've been playing there for years, and I just hate to see a torn ACL or something out there.
We have not looked at resurfacing that court. I don't believe we have any cracking on it, but we can certainly have staff take a look.
Yeah, it's pretty slick, especially in the paint area by the hoop. It's been that way for a while. I just, because I remember how it was back in the heyday when everybody was playing there. I'd love to bring that back. I was playing basketball today at the rec center, and kind of got me re in touch with the teenager I was playing over there. So I'm like, okay, let's try to bring it back. But this is a question I have for city manager. So you talked about funding for Odell Berry Park, and in the past I've mentioned Denver Broncos. He's a former Denver Bronco. Can we look into? We have the most wealthy ownership in football, $79.8 billion. We reach out to them, or possibly even I looked up the Denver Broncos Alumni Association, and number 27, Steve Atwater's the treasurer. Possibly we could speak with him. I think that'd be a great legacy piece for Denver Broncos to put their stamp in North Glen. And I just see the opportunities and the funds that could possibly be available.
Great, thank you for that idea. I made note of that, and Amanda and I and Jason can have more conversation about what a potential approach of the Broncos could be.
Sounds good. I'll wear my Steve Atwater jersey too when we meet with him, so, yeah.
Get it
Thanks.
signed.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Councilmember Goff?
Yeah, I do have kind of a follow-up question, and I want to thank Councilmember Jaramillo for bringing that up. I did just was contacted by a resident asking if we had more specific ideas about a timeline. I know it depends on funding, but for the Odell Berry Park, are we doing nothing next year, or are we exploring grant possibilities next year, or what's the timeline on that?
Good evening again. So we have several applications that are intended to go in this fall yet. And so we'll be able to tell you more about where we're headed in 2025 once we have status of those applications. If we were to magically get all of the funding we asked for through all of those requests, we would have enough money to do the park. Do I think we are going to get 100% funding of every request we submit? I do not. So I know that's a really vague response, but right now that's kind of where we're at, is where do these next grant applications go?
Okay, and if you get some of it, will that money like just be put in reserve until we get more?
It depends on the grant ask, and that's why we've waited until that's why we asked for those Adams County Open Space Grant dollars first. Then we asked for the Colorado Health Foundation dollars. We did not get construction dollars there. That was where we got $30,000 in technical assistance. We've now completed that, which makes us eligible to apply for their next round. So we were trying to line ourselves up so that we were ready to make those asks all at once, knowing that the others outside of Adams County Open Space didn't have as much ability to carry those funds over.
Okay, all right, I'll explain that, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, that's it for now.
Thank you. Any questions on Civic Campus? Okay. Moving on, oh, that's weird. Where am I? Give me a minute. Oh. Okay, we talked about implementing digital accessibility. Okay. Under diverse and engaged community, utilizing a park naming process policy that we already have underway, I took the specific name out of the idea elevated here in order to keep it general. The park naming policy is a policy that at any point in time, a council member can initiate or a resident member of the broader community. So that's an idea that doesn't require any specific costs. It does involve staff time, but can be utilized at any point. So doable in 2025. Shifting to environmental stewardship, the idea about evaluating implementation of a monarch butterfly flyaway is included. This is something that staff has said is feasible and that we can absorb within current budget that's included in the 2025 budget. So that was an idea there. Implementation of the Climate Action and Resiliency Plan. So that particular idea, number 99, has specific goals, a specific percentage to reach in terms of, I believe, electric fleet. We wordsmithed it to be more general, given that work is underway on the plan, and the plan is going to bring forward specific recommendations based on what we've done to date with our sustainability plan and framework. And so the idea with the climate action and resiliency plan is to build on that work and provide a roadmap moving forward. So we don't have those recommendations yet, and once we have those recommendations, that plan, I think, comes forward either in August or September. Council will be able to weigh in terms of what those priorities look like, and then those priorities can be put in respective years based on council feedback. So that's in process. The idea about I think it was phrased sustainability task force. We have an existing sustainability committee that has 6 members and a staff liaison. So this is one of those ideas that we can bring back to council, and you can provide us with additional direction if you want something different to change. But that is a group that's currently supported, and as far as I understand, doing well and contributing in the manner which they were designed to contribute. So this is an example of an idea where we wordsmithed it and to make it fit based on the work underway in 2025. There was an idea, 95, about the implementation of a community garden and bee apiary. Did I say that correct?
Apiary.
Apiary, okay. The community gardens budgeted for in the 2025 budget, it does not include any programming elements, so that would need to come at a future date, 2026 and beyond, but we made the connection with a community garden there, which is underway. And that brings me to asking you whether or not there's council consensus based on what we presented this evening. I will tell you that there's a grouping of about 12 ideas that I put in a doesn't quite fit bucket yet, but I'm working through those to see how I can fit those into the rest of the plan. And so know that other than those 12 ideas, what you've seen on this screen, everything else is slated in future years. I will show you the system that we have right now. Every bucket is organized this way for now. And so all the different ideas are in out years, 2026, 27, 28, 29. I have more work to do on this before I can bring this back to you. So this is what I'm talking about, is the guts of the plan that will come back for October 7th. So hopefully that context helps.
Councilmember, no, I see you, but I want to follow up directly with what City Manager Guyer just stated. So I just wanted to remind council that we have done our work. So we provide the vision, so we set the strategic priorities, and we had fun generating additional ideas, but now the work does go to city staff. And so joining Councilmember Kondo with his earlier comment is that there could be ideas that we had that don't make the cut, and that's okay. And we don't need to take it personally because we did our work already, right? And so our work is the vision, so vision statement, mission statement, the priorities, that's the work that we do. And then we have an amazingly talented staff that takes it from here. And they look at all of the ideas and they may sort through and go, you know what, this doesn't fit, and it's okay. And so whatever the 12 ideas are that might be in a pot of this isn't gonna work, they may be that they get dropped off, or they get merged with another idea, or there's a piece of it that works, but the whole thing does not. And so I just wanted to remind us that we've done our part and that we are now gonna respond back to the draft that we received. But this is also not an opportunity to continue to add more, because that could be an endless process. So those were just some things to remember. Councilmember Newman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, City Manager Guyer, for being here, for presenting this. One thing that I guess as I was kind of going through it, I kept kind of having to kind of cross-reference things, and go back. So, and this is just a suggestion, going forward, I'm curious if maybe there could be like an Excel, kind of a spreadsheet that's like, this was included this year, this is slated for next year, you know, blah, blah, blah. Something along those lines, just visually, I think that would kind of help some of us be able to kind of jump around a little bit. Just a suggestion. It
In
doesn't work.
terms of the Padlet numbers,
Yeah, in terms of kind of the ideas where they're included, like if it's included, this would be included in 2029 or, you know, something along those
you're gonna
lines.
get that information as part of the draft framework plan
Okay.
on October 7th. I will say, I won't commit to an Excel spreadsheet.
Sure.
Because we exported the Padlet into an Excel spreadsheet, and I spent hours working with that Excel spreadsheet to put it into a Word document. And so this is kind of one of those, trust me, it'll be easier to reference things off of a Word document than an Excel spreadsheet, which is multiple pages with tiny font.
Sure. Okay.
But I am planning on carrying through the Padlet numbers.
Okay.
So that way you can know that your idea is carried forward.
Gotcha. And one of the things I caught as I was going through this goes back to slide 11. Number 5 says, maintain road pavement condition, and it references number 27, but number 27 is actually, I had a suggestion about resident surveys.
Oh. I apologize.
Yeah.
I thought I was spot on with my numbers, and you caught one that I missed. My apologies.
No, it's.
So,
again,
yeah, thank you for that catch. I'll go back and, yeah, no, there is one about roadway PCI, and I know Councilmember Kondo elevated it, so thank you.
Yeah, and again, I do know that's important, and I know it's, but I am also, interested as to kind of where that resident survey piece does fall. You know, kind of while we're talking about the text survey piece and, you know, what that would look like.
It falls in a future year.
Okay,
And it falls under high-performance government, and it's either in 2026 or 2027, off the top of my head.
great,
I can tell you, it's in that bucket.
okay.
Yep.
That's all my questions. Thank you.
PCI is number 49.
Thank you.
And I'd like to beg everybody's forgiveness. I used NG in my comments. Some people may be slighted by me referring to Northland as NG.
Our sticker says, I love it.
Yeah.
You're covered.
Am I good?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, and I'm not violating any copywriter. Okay,
Thank you. You're good, man.
just want to make sure.
So do I have consensus to move forward? Awesome, thank you so much.
Okay, we have another opportunity for public invited to be heard. Statements are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Comments must be related to an item previously addressed by council during the meeting. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to council at this time? No? Okay. I will entertain a motion that the city hold an executive session to consider legal consultation and advice pursuant to section 4.5D of the City of North Glen Home Rule Charter regarding Justice Center Foundation issues.
So moved.
Second.
Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I will close that vote, and the motion to meet in executive session passes unanimously.
We will adjourn to the executive session.